Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Deepa Robbins from DeeZinesByD and today I have a fun video for you. So I'm going to be using the PinkFresh Studio's Folk Garden set. This includes the foil plate, the die, the stamp, and the stencils to make 4 different looking cards. They're similar because they're the same products, but I'm using different colors of ink, different colors of foil, different backgrounds, and I'll also be foiling on white and dark cardstock so you can kind of see the difference there. It makes 4 very different looks, and I mean, it's completely up to you which one you like. I know I have a favorite, but definitely go ahead and let me know what your favorite is in the comments. So let's go ahead and get started. I started off by using the PinkFresh Studio Perfect Sentiments foil plate and die. So it has all these sentiments in one foil plate, and I foiled it in some Spellbinders polished brass, silver, and rose gold foil. And then I used the coordinating die to cut all of these sentiments out in one swift run through my die cutting machine. I then used the PinkFresh Studio Best Wishes plate and die. I foiled in rose gold on dark blue cardstock and then on polished brass on white. So I cut those out as well. Then I did my foiling of my main backgrounds, which was using the Folk Garden hot foil plate. I used here silver on white cardstock, which is a very nice, elegant look. And the next one I did was this gold, or this one's polished brass on white cardstock again. There's sometimes a little bit of overfoiling. All you have to do is kind of just rub the extra off. It comes off pretty easily. And then here's the rose gold on white, and I'm going to do the rose gold on white, and then I'm also going to do it on this dark blue cardstock, which is absolutely stunning. Look at that result. It's just by itself, it would work. It looks really nice. So let's go ahead and start doing our stenciling. There are 4 pieces to the stencil set, and I'm going to start off with the leaves, and I'm going to be using a lot of Altenew inks. So the first that I'm using is this nice blue. It's called Eastern Sky, and I'm not being too particular in covering every little bit of my leafy image. It's really up to you. This ink works in such a way that it kind of spreads out and evens out as it dries. So even those lighter areas are going to end up picking up the color. So that's what you end up with. And then for the detailed stencil, I'll be using the Azurite blue, which is the darkest color in this set of inks. I've explained this before, and I'm sure if you're familiar with Altenew, their inks come in 4 different tones of the same color. So they have like a light, a darker one than that light one, and it just gets darker, and there's 4 colors or tones of each color, so it makes it easier to do like layering, stamping, and in this case, stenciling if you're going to be adding different tones. Now for the flowers, I went ahead and I used some Pinkalicious and some Pink Diamond ink. And there's like 2 separate areas to the flowers that you can color in. With one stencil, there's like 3 openings, and with another stencil, there's 5 openings. So, I mean, it's up to you. There's no right or wrong way to do it. So there you get a nice like pink and blue effect. So moving on, I'm going to go to the darker blue cardstock that I did that pink foiling on, that rose gold foiling. And because it is a darker cardstock, I decided to use my Oxide inks because I need that color to sit on top. If you used a dye ink, it would just absorb into the cardstock and you wouldn't really see the color, especially because this is a dark color. So the Oxides I thought were perfect. You could also use like a pigment ink, which would again sit on top of the cardstock so that your color shows. So I started off with the tumbled glass for the larger area of the leaf, and then for the detail of the leaves, I'm using the stormy sky. And the results are really nice. Now, because it is a dark cardstock, I kind of had to do this a couple times because it's hard to see in the openings what you've covered and what you haven't. And then for the flowers, I decided to use some spun sugar. Now, this I wanted to show you, like I tried it. It didn't really create that pink color. I needed a bit more of a darker pink. So I chose to use the Kitsch Flamingo. And this actually darkened up that pink, so it actually looks pink on the paper. And you can experiment with a bunch of different inks. I mean, it really depends on your background color cardstock, and that kind of changes how it turns out. Now, I did actually use my towel to kind of wipe off the ink a bit from the foil because, as I said, this is an oxide. It's more of a pigment ink. It kind of sits on top of your cardstock. So it will sit on top of the foil, and just to shine that foil up a bit, all you want to do is take a towel, and here I'm actually just going to use a paper towel, and then just wipe off the areas that have the ink on top of it to get that shiny foil showing again. And these are the two colors. See, you've got it on the white and the dark, and it really makes two completely different effects. So I'm not going to show you how I blended the inks for the rest of the for the other two panels. It's pretty much the same process. I've listed the colors that I've used for this particular set here, and I've cut out all of the little pieces with the die cut. With the die. So the die for this set basically cuts out the entire background in one go. Again, I really like that about these PinkFresh products, is that it saves so much time. Instead of having to line up every little piece with these like 3 or 5 different dies. I have this one die that cuts everything in one go, which makes this much faster, especially when you're creating many cards like I have here. So I'm basically just kind of lining up where these would go and sticking them on with some foam tape, some foam squares. So I did the same for the rest of the cards, and these are the final products. So these are the inks that I used for that purple and that like nice emeraldy green colored one. And then here are the final looks for the darker cardstocks. Here I have the white on the dark cardstock, and you can see those are just 4 completely different looks already. So I'm going to go ahead and use this Altenew fine frame cover die with the Sizzix Gold Matte Opulent cardstock. I cut a whole bunch of them out of there. And this is, again, another nice die because it gives you a whole bunch of different size frames, and you cut them all out in one go. I don't have to go through my machine like 10 different times to get all the different sizes. So I'm just going to attach that frame. It fit perfectly with this image here. This is actually the outermost frame, so I really needed a bit of a bigger size for this one. And I'm going to be adding the Simon Says Stamp large written Merry Christmas die. This has like a shadow die and then also the written script. So I used some shimmer vellum for the shadow, and I used some of that Sizzix cardstock again, but this one was the mirror gold rather than being the frosted one, or sorry, the matte one. And then I went ahead and embellished it with some AB Crystal Lolly beads, which I've mentioned before from Amazon, and I'll link everything in my blog for you. And here are your 4 different effects. So here's that dark cardstock. I really like that blue one, I have to say. I mean, as I mentioned before, go ahead and tell me which one you like best. I would love to know which you all prefer. And as I said, they're different cards. So I got a Merry Christmas card, a Christmas card out of the green cardstock, and I got birthday and thank you cards out of the other ones. I mean, you can really do anything you want with these. So I'm going to design the inside of the card in 2 different ways. This was one way. So I actually foiled that Played Again, the Folk Garden set, and I foiled it with the same color foil as the front, the Spellbinders polished brass. And I cut all those pieces out with the die, and then I'm just going to piecemealing them together to form like a bit of a design on the inside of the card. And I'm going to put this on the bottom left and the top right corner, which I tend to do all the time because it takes up a bit of your white space to create your design and coordinate it with the front, but then still leaves you with a lot of space to do some writing, to add a message, to add a sentiment, whatever you want to do on the inside. So I'm going to do that exact same thing. Like, see this nice big piece? I'm going to end up cutting a bit of it off, but it really doesn't take that long to do this because it covers like a lot of the inside in such a way that you really don't have to do too much cutting and pasting. So I'll add that on and cut off the edge, and that's the final look you get with that. And then I'm going to add a sentiment to the center here, a Christmas sentiment to match our front. I'm using the Altenew Blessings stamp set, and I'm using some VersaFine Olympia green I tend to use VersaFine Clear on the insides of my cards, but I needed a dark green, and this worked very well. And then I'm going to move on to my other design for the inside of the card. So I kind of did my stamping off camera because I had to do a bit of masking because I wasn't going to stamp out the whole entire image. So to make this video shorter and not take up too much of your time, I went ahead and stamped the 3 other insides. And I just did that with VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink. And I did a bit of masking. As you can see, I had to end up masking the stencil as well here to make sure that I'm not inking the rest of the stencil that doesn't have an actual outline. And I'm using the same colors that I did on the front of the card on the inside. So you're tying in the design, you're tying in the colors. Your technique is just a little different. So instead of foiling, I stamped. Now you see here, I had a bit of the cardstock kind of rip there, but it was just a small amount. So I just used my Tombow Mono sand eraser and kind of just buffed that out there, and you couldn't really tell the difference. So I'll do the exact same process and add my darker detailed color to the inside. So the Azurite, as I did on the front, this really doesn't take too long. So I'm going to only show you the bottom left corner, but I did the exact same thing on the top right corner as well. And be careful pulling that tape off. I mean, I used washi tape, so I thought for sure that wouldn't stick, but somehow it did. So just be careful of that. And I'm showing you that I actually taped off a little section there with washi tape because there's another opening that I'm not actually using. So that worked out well. And I'll use the rest of my colors. Now, because there's a lot of white on this page, I know a lot of people tend to be, they get worried that they're going to get, the ink all over. I did. I'll tell you, I got some ink on the back of the cardstock and don't worry about it. As long as it's just a little bit and you get it right away with your sand eraser, it's going to come right off. No one's going to notice the difference. And especially on the inside of the card, you can always color that up with little flat confetti embellishments. So for the inside of this card, I used the Altenew Positive Vibes stamp set. There was a nice sentiment in there, and I'm going to do some masked stamping. I am masking off the handwritten portion and stamping out the printed portion in black VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink, and then I'm stamping out the written portion in VersaFine Clear Twilight ink. So this blue, this nice twilight blue, it coordinates with the inside of this card and with the inks that I used on the front and the inside. Then for the next card, I'm using the Altenew Engraved Flowers stamp set. And this sentiment I think I've used in a video before. I'm doing the same thing. I'm mass stamping the sentiment out, the main portion in black, and then the different fonty script in Kitsch Flamingo Distress Oxide ink. Again, this now matches my color scheme, so that ties in with the rest of the design. And that is the beautiful result that you get for this one. And then I have one more. And for that one, I'm using the Mama Elephant Inside Birthday Images. Oh, not images, the Inside Birthday Messages stamp set. So this one I'm stamping out with the VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink. There's no difference in font, so I'll just do that all in one color. No masking required. And that's the final result for this purple and green one. So here's the first one. It's foil on white with a dark background is how I'm going to term it. So that is the one inside design option. And it looks all right, but it's not exactly my favorite. I mean, you can tell me if you think otherwise. This one was foil on white with a light background. So this has the light pink background, and the colors match on the inside, and it all coordinates all nicely. This one was just like a general friendly card. Then this one was a foil on white with a white background and just a simple sentiment inside. This one's a happy birthday card. And then my final one, which is by far my favorite, is this foil on dark with a dark background. I love how everything shines on the front on that dark navy cardstock. It is very, very nice. And I love how the oxides turned out too. It gives that little hint of color. So As I said, go ahead and let me know which card you liked the most in the comment section. I've linked all of my products, all of my supplies on my blog, so go ahead and check that out. And I think I also have a product list in the description. And if you liked my video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of other videos. Otherwise, please go ahead and take a look at my blog. There's a ton more projects there, and I hope that I can inspire you in any which way or form. The products I used today were from PinkFresh Studio, a lot of them, and the main product set was the Folk Garden set from PinkFresh Studio. It's a bit of an older set, so you might have a bit of trouble finding it in the stores. I have linked up all of the products as best as I could for you, and I hope that you are able to do the same. So I have a video here in a playlist that you might want to take a look at. Otherwise, I hope that you have a great day and a great weekend, and I hope to see you again. Thank you. Bye.